Thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. Tonight, we're talking marijuana. We're going to talk about Harris County's method of diverting people with misdemeanor amounts of marijuana. So I'm excited tonight that Nathan Beedle, who is the division chief for the misdemeanor section of the Harris County District Attorney's Office, has agreed to talk marijuana. I'm also excited that Shekira Dennis, our DA outreach person, has decided to come tonight and also talk about what she hears on the street about marijuana. So let's talk marijuana. So Nathan, tell us what the Harris County diversion program is all about as it relates to marijuana.
Sure. For misdemeanor amounts of marijuana, that's less than 4 ounces. On March 1st, 2017, Kim Ogg created a program called the Misdemeanor Marijuana Diversion Program. For misdemeanor amounts of marijuana specifically under 4 ounces and not in school zones and not where there are indications of dealing, you would be afforded the opportunity to take a 4-hour decision-making course, not be arrested, not have a criminal record issued to you related to that interaction with law enforcement, and be able to go about your life essentially without some sort of a permanent criminal-related repercussion related to that interaction with law enforcement.
Wow, March the 1st, 2017. So that means that March the 1st, 2018, we're coming upon the 1-year anniversary.
That's correct.
How successful has this program been?
Well, I think we'll get over the 4,000 case mark of diverted cases by March 1st. We're at 3,895 as of today. That's 3,895 individuals that were not taken to the Harris County Jail, that were not clothed or housed in the Harris County Jail. That was 3,895 individuals where the law enforcement officer was able to be back on the street and patrolling for crimes such as those against persons and property that we feel we should be focusing more on. That's just the sheriff side of it. From the district attorney side of it, that allows prosecutors in my division to not be working those 3,895 cases and rather focusing on assaults, domestic violence cases, burglary of motor vehicle cases, driving while intoxicated seconds where people are injured in car accidents, other property and persons crimes such as indecent exposure where the public is subjected to some things that we don't want them to be,
right.
To focus on things that I think the Harris County residents really want us to focus more on than small amounts of marijuana.
Wow, that sounds wonderful. And also why that helps the court system. It's so crowded. It's so many people in line every morning trying to get in. Tell us how that relieves a little of the pressure in the courts.
There are 16 county courts that I'm responsible for. Each has about 1,200 cases per court. When you reduce the typical number of 10,000 marijuana cases a year out of that system, that's 10,000 individuals that don't show up into court on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, not to mention their friends, their family members that show up, the attorneys that show up, the bondsmen that show up. It decreases traffic by at least 10%. Just in the courthouse. And after Hurricane Harvey, where we're in alternative arrangements, where the elevators and the facilities just aren't as good or capable to handle the people, that makes a huge difference for everybody.
Wow, so what's the word on the street, Shekira, since you're out there doing our community outreach for the Harris County DA's office? What do you hear the community saying about this program?
I think that the community is really ecstatic, one, to have a DA's office that's responsive, right, and that understands the true needs of the community and that understands that marijuana isn't a violent offense and that individuals who are penalized for it deserve to actually be in the workforce and not stuck with a criminal record or doing jail time, per se. And so with the community groups on the grassroots level and the advocacy groups and some of the trusted messengers in the community, much of it has been positive. Right, the feedback from them regarding the spirit of the policy and understanding that the community benefits greatly from this, and it also saves the county a wealth of resources to focus on, as Nathan mentioned, violent offenders.
And a lot of people, I find, just have marijuana on their background. So do you think, Nathan, and then I'll ask you, Shekira, do you think it helps when people are trying to get apartments, get into school, get scholarships, young offenders?
Absolutely. The ramifications for merely an arrest for possession of marijuana, not necessarily conviction in the ultimate long run, could have deep, lasting impacts on everybody, not just the person who's charged. You mentioned school funding for college loans, employability, actually getting a job, much less maintaining a job. If you're charged while you have a job, you may lose your job. Apartment renting, when you do a background check when you rent an apartment or you're trying to lease a house. But also, a lot of these people have families and their children. Or in some cases, their grandchildren, depending. We have people in the program from 18 to age 71.
Wow, I didn't know we had 71.
It's a wide variety of people. So, the long-term implications of a marijuana-related criminal charge can be impactful for decades on some people, if not permanent. We don't want people out of the work environment. We want them employable, and we want them out in our community doing what they can to help the community. Small amounts of marijuana have been targeted by Kim Ogg's office as an offense that we should divert to further that policy, and we're doing it.
What do you say when people are saying that Kim Ogg has decriminalized marijuana? We know that's not true, but how do you answer that?
Well, I know statutorily she has the power to divert any case. Theoretically, she could divert any crime that she's responsible for enforcing. We have many diversionary programs. Marijuana is simply a pre-charge diversion. We have a retail theft diversion program, which has an over 98% success rate.
Wow.
So, as an example, if a young teenage female, which they typically are, 17 to 20, go into a Target, a Walmart, or some other Macy's or some other store and shoplift, 98% of those people that we deal with, we never see again. Because we have a diversion process related to that. We have the driving while intoxicated diversion program, which is much more complicated and much more, it's a bigger program. But I would say, do we have the power to do it? Absolutely. The local government code allows us to do that. It gives Kim Ogg the power to do it in an appropriate case. Not all cases are appropriate.
And may I add that not only the local government code, but the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure allows that. Shekira, what are you hearing on the street about that in your outreach efforts about people being happy that their kids or grandkids can have a second chance?
I mean, I think it's really a breath of fresh air, and to know that you have an elected district attorney that's responsive to what the community feels and, quite frankly, needs at this juncture in the criminal justice system. And so we've had some really good feedback, and we've had to, break it down in digestible terms for the individuals who didn't quite understand the spirit of the policy. And it's not about the decriminalization of marijuana. As Nathan mentioned, it's about making sure that people are employable, that they're able to live a quality life.
So we want you to know that it is a crime to possess marijuana. We have not decriminalized it. It is a tool that the district attorney is using that's similar to what we know as deferred adjudication. The difference is you'd be arrested first. You'd be fingerprinted. This way, you have a very consensual encounter with the police officer that stops you and smells marijuana in your car. So you might get in the back seat, but you don't have to take that ride to the jail. And that's what we're excited about. You don't even have a record of being stopped for marijuana other than if you comply with the program. Now, I was getting calls when we first designed this program from mothers and parents saying that it's a gateway drug. Y'all are gonna let our kids be, dope fiends and crackheads, and really, they were more in the affluent neighborhoods that were saying that, when we know statistically the affluent neighborhoods, the kids were rarely charged with marijuana anyway. But I did get some of those calls. Have you gotten any feedback over the last year?
I have. I received some similar calls at the beginning of the program. It's pretty much died out. I would just say that I think the most dangerous drug that I'm aware of in our community is alcohol. And it happens to be legal, but it is a drug. Another drug, marijuana, is illegal, and I want to make it very clear that there are certain offenses that we still charge. If you're in a school zone, we will charge you.
And let's talk about that, because a lot of kids have marijuana at school zones, and there was a time when we wanted to divert them too, but the ISDs did not, the independent school district police officers thought that they still needed that tool. And so we complied with that. And so that should satisfy most of the parents who were concerned that their children were being allowed to be diverted and they had no hold on them or control over them using marijuana. So be real clear about this. If you're caught in a school zone with marijuana by the police at your local police agency, those kids still get charged 17 and up.
And if you're in any indication of dealing,
Right.
such as scales or packaging or other materials, marijuana packaged in certain ways to be sold, we will charge you.
Right.
If you try to bring it into a penal institution such as the Harris County Jail, we will charge you. You know, there are various things that the law has not changed, and we aren't diverting people away.
And if you get too many diversions, say for example, you get diverted, you get the diversion program today, and then 3 days later the same police officer sees you and you kind of like forget about what the police said. I can do whatever I want to do. No, if they call and tell us, we're going to arrest you. So I just, you know, we're not going to let you be disrespectful to the police and think that they can't do it. They still can. They're agreeing, the police officers have agreed to cooperate and give you a second chance. We're only doing this with their agreement. So if a police officer feels like you're being disrespectful, you don't appreciate the spirit of the law, and they call and tell us, we will still allow them to arrest you.
And that's what I think Kim Ogg is about. The appropriate case,
Right.
the appropriate treatment of that defendant will take place.
Right.
And if the defendant in this case is dealing, bringing it into an institution or at a school, or like you just described, they will be charged.
Right. And we look at that every day. So tell me, from the community standpoint, do you hear, Shekira, about other crimes that could be suggested for us, or is the community basically just trying to understand what we're doing?
I think more so they're trying to understand, right, what we're doing with marijuana. But the good thing about what we are doing is being a little bit more proactive, right? We're getting organized and utilizing our social media platforms, utilizing media outlets, right? Talking to community groups, grassroots, grass tops leaders, clergy, anyone that we could utilize to get the message out to a broader audience. And the calls that I received early on, during the implementation of the policy, was regarding, well, can a person just walk out in public and smoke weed and there's no penalty? And I'm like, no, they'll be charged with public intoxication. And so that had to be explained to me because, I mean, there are different layers to the policy that I think, that the community ought to understand. And so when they call, we need to be as clear as possible. And I think we've done that. District Attorney Ogg has made it clear that she wants to meet the community where they are. We have not missed one request for representation since we took office, no matter how small or how big. We've made sure that prosecutors and/or support staff are able to be mobilized to explain to the public. We don't care if it's a small, tiny nonprofit or a big business with an employee network that needs to learn more about the policy. We're there and we're engaged and we're intentional in our efforts in doing so.
And you've also created brochures that you can take to these facilities and leave to educate people so that they can read and have some reading material. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And I think that those marketing materials are really helpful because we go to so many community forums and we want to take advantage of all of those opportunities to engage and educate the public, to the best of our abilities. And so those are really helpful, especially when we're not always able to stay, the full time, but we do have something for them, or they can go to our website and find more information about the program. And so.
Yeah, let's say that again. You can go to our website, so you can Google Harris County District Attorney's Office, and you can find the marijuana program there. You hear us saying MMDP, that stands for Misdemeanor Marijuana Diversion Program. And so that's what this program is all about. So, so Nathan, tell me how complicated or big it was for you to try to implement this program. I know I helped with the writing of it and to talk to the police officers, but tell me, you are the one that actually implemented, so tell me about that.
Well,
getting the judges on board, getting the defense attorneys on board.
Oh, lobbyists.
Walk us through your last year and what you've had to do to get everybody on board for this.
Well, the policy was set down by my bosses, including you, and it came down to me to implement. I will say immediately I found a very capable person to run this program, Ms. Dahlia Campos, and I have to give that credit to her because frankly she is the backbone of that program, making sure it's organized, accounted for, the people are in it, the classes are offered, etc. She's amazing. James Garza is also with her. Kyla Shelby, who's currently on maternity leave, has also been helping with the program, and now we have Alessi Marlin there helping with us, and countless interns making phone calls that we need to be made.
Let's talk about that. So Kim Ogg and her administration is so geared toward making this work that even when we saw, because in 90 days you have to go take a class, and a 4-hour class, as Nathan has explained. But many times, I mean, people have different reasons why they haven't done it. The hurricane was an issue. Transportation was an issue. You can still take that class. If you have not taken that class and you got this program March 1st, it's still an amnesty time right now. We will eventually, when the 1-year mark comes, we're going to issue warrants for those people who are non-compliant. Why would you want to do that to yourself when you have already not have an arrest record, you have not had to deal with any of the financial ramifications of being in trouble? You haven't sat in jail. You haven't had to plead guilty because you were poor, because you couldn't get out. You didn't have to plead guilty because you were guilty. You didn't have to hire an attorney. You didn't have to do all those things, but yet you can't take a 4-hour class. And so I want to know why. I'm just letting you know you can still do it. And let's talk about how you take the 4-hour class. How do you sign up? You just say, for example, someone happens to be watching or their parent is watching and they didn't do what they were supposed to do. How can they go do it now?
The Harris County Probation Department offers it 3 times a week. There's a class actually this evening from 6 to 10 p.m. and I think we're after 6:30 now. So, but there will be a class on Saturday from 8 to 1, and that's offered at 49 San Jacinto. And the Harris County Probation Department can be contacted directly about signing up for it. It does cost $150, but that will alleviate you from getting a warrant for your arrest after March 1st and all the additional costs of attorney, bonds, and all the other negative consequences from a warrant being issued for your arrest.
And let's talk about that. If you were arrested traditionally, you would get what type of bond? $1,000 bond if it's your first offense, $500 bond. But you're still going to have to pay more than $150 to get out of jail on a $500 bond. Don't let people tell you it's 10%. It's not always 10%. Sometimes bonds need to make a threshold amount. So it could be more than that on a $500 bond.
If you're arrested on a Friday and it's a busy Friday, you might not get out till Sunday or Monday, depending upon how busy it is.
So think about that. And we're so committed as an office for those people who haven't complied that we had summer interns. We've had interns all year calling people on the phone because sometimes it's a cooperative program, so a voluntary program. So sometimes the people accused have written down their name or their phone number in an illegible manner. Oh, wow. And so we've had to try to call you, but the phone number might be wrong, or the email address might not be right, or we can't understand your handwriting. But you can always call the DA's office. It's a public number. You can Google it. We will give you that information, how to sign up for a class.
I'll give it right now. Sure, if you are one of these people who have not taken your class and would like to do so by March 1st, you can call 713-274-0500 and ask for the MMDP, or the Misdemeanor Marijuana Diversion Programs coordinators. And they will get your information, and we will get you the right information to get your class done. You can do that again. It's 713-274-0500. Ask for the Misdemeanor Marijuana Diversion Program coordinators.
Right, absolutely. And even when we start doing warrants, just get the class done. Don't say you can't get the class. If you did the class done before an officer picks you up, you're still good. We're good. I mean, we're good. We're going to work with you to try to make this successful for your career, so you can never say that people don't care about you, because we do care about you. And we know that sometimes with marijuana there can be double standards. You know, it's those people who are arrested and those people who are not, and everybody's still doing it. And we get, I mean, I heard someone say the other day, well, it's not many people that get high on marijuana and go have fights with their families. You know, they're downers. I'm not advocating it. I don't smoke weed. I mean, I'm not advocating it, but we do realize that, we don't want people's lives to be ruined, and we don't want the police officers to have to hustle this crime down when we know as a community, you've told us you want crimes against people and crimes against property. That's the burglaries, that's the robberies, that's the murders, that's the sexual assault. And with a county with 5 million people and over 85 police agencies, we have a lot of work to do, and we're glad to take this 10,000 cases off of our docket, because basically we're running it with paralegals, and of course under Nathan's guidance, who's an experienced lawyer. So I'm glad you talked about Dahlia. Tell me what other efforts we're making to make sure that people do this program.
Well, the interesting thing about this process was trying to figure out what is the best way to actually communicate with people. So some people, you know, there's a wide age range. I said 17 to 81 years old or 71 years old. So some people, the best way is telephone. Some people, their phone runs out after a week. They're on a paid program. What we've found is that the most reliable method of communicating with people is actually email. But that took time to figure out. And then while we're figuring this out, a storm hits.
Hold that thought. Phone. I have a phone call. So caller, ask your question, please.
Hi, I wanted to know if there is anything that I can do to help make it more successful. I know you were talking about interns and things like that. I was wanting to know if there's anything I can do to help with the program.
Do you want to volunteer?
I would like to volunteer.
Well, I'm sure if you call the DA's office, we can do a background check on you to make sure that we don't have any bad moles out there. and if you pass our background check, we love volunteers from the community. And I know that some people in our office are checking with organizations to see if people are ready and able to volunteer.
Can I call that same number?
Yeah, you can. You can call that or just the general DA's number, 713-274-5800. Or you can call 713-274-1500.
0500.
0500. But either way, you can get in. Thank you for calling.
Thank you.
So you were saying about you found email to be because I think we were texting also, weren't we?
Well,
which one are we doing?
some
I can't
people are,
remember.
I mean, we're talking about people during the time of the hurricane. Some people got kicked out of their house, their apartment, or wherever they're at. The permanent thing in their life for a lot of people is an email address that they've had for many years. We didn't know that, but we found that out. But you need personnel to contact these people via their email address, which is where I only have 3 staff members and they're running multiple programs. This is one of the programs, and they're all important. But having this summer intern help and even fall intern help and spring intern help to make the program successful, it was very beneficial. But Harvey really threw a wrench in everything. I still have a prosecutor that is sleeping out in her yard in a motorhome still.
Really?
Yes, I still do that. So, and I know she's not alone. I know there are other people in this community that are in the same boat.
Wow.
So, you know, with that, we have to give some leeway of completion time, and I think that's fair.
And that's what we've done. I don't know if we have another call. Okay. Well, great. So have you heard anything about how Harvey has affected us in any way?
I mean, I know that Harvey has displaced, as Nathan mentioned, so many people, so many families, that it's been extremely difficult trying to find the most reliable form of communication, right, to reach as many people as possible. We found that we have to have our tentacles some of everywhere. We've got to do things with our neighborhood newspapers, right, to get the word out. We've got to do things again with our social media platforms. We've got to exercise our local media contacts and outlets, just to make sure radio outlets, anything that we can use to reach people and, you know, in broader audiences, we're taking advantage of, because we never know, right, you know, what someone's listening to or reading. So
Exactly. One other thing, Nathan, that you're working on is a diversion program for misdemeanor driving while license is suspended or invalid. Tell us about that program.
It's a complicated problem where if someone gets a driver's license suspension, and in this case, we're talking about marijuana. In the old days, if you got a marijuana conviction, you would have a 6-month driver's license suspension. And we'll just take a marijuana person as an example. After that 6-month suspension, then somebody would have to pay a fee to the state to get their license back. Well, if you don't
Called a reinstatement fee.
But if you don't pay that fee, your license is still suspended. If you are caught operating a motor vehicle while your license is suspended, you go to jail on what's called a driver's while license suspended or invalid charge, which is a Class B misdemeanor. And it's very difficult to get out of that wheel because most of it's financial based. What most of these folks need, because they're out there working, some of them have 4 or 5 children, they have to go off to work and feed those children, and they're going to be driving to do it. We need to get their driver's license sorted out, meaning get the fees taken away or somehow get them through the system to get a valid driver's license. And that's what this new diversion program is focusing on.
Have you started it yet?
We have not started the program, but I will say our office has been implementing this and trying to get these people's license straight since I've gotten here on January 1st of last year. Some of the pushback has been how long it takes for folks to get their driver's license straight, 6 months, 9 months. It's money. And a lot of people that we're talking about the challenge is money. It's nothing else. If we can give them the knowledge and if we can give them the time, we can get their license unsuspended. But we've had some pushback from some of the courts about cases taking too long. I believe there's no timeline on justice, or there shouldn't be a timeline on justice. But I work within the framework of the courts and the judges that I work with every day. But I think there is consensus to try and get these people straightened out. So that program hopefully will go into effect soon. One of the big problems with instituting that program is that one of the meeting areas was going to be the jury assembly room. And the jury assembly room during Harvey flooded and was totally destroyed. So we've had to find an alternate location, and I think probation is still sorting out where that would actually be because, as you know, Vivian, every Harris County office has limited space, particularly after Harvey, with the district attorney's office being in 11 different offices because we don't have a building. Space is at a premium. So to get this program off the ground, I think that's the major limiting cause right now.
One of the things that I don't think the community knows is our 20-story criminal justice center at 1201 Franklin was basically destroyed. And I mean, 20 floors occupied employees. There were the 22 felony courts, 16 misdemeanor courts and staff. There was pretrial. There was district clerk's office, that's keeper of the records. There was the Harris County District Attorney's Office. We have 700 employees. So, I mean, just us ourselves. So, I mean, I guess it really was about 1,000 people in that building, at least.
Probably more than that.
Probably
with the
more,
public defender,
public defender's office.
Pretrial services.
Oh, yeah. It was probably 1,500 people housed there on a daily basis, in addition to the 10,000 people that walked through there to go to court every day. So the thousands of people who came. So that building was destroyed, and we had to start from scratch. There was no Plan B building to go into, so we had to just find unoccupied county buildings and get them re-engineered for the technology that we use now. So, I mean, we're in buildings in the Galleria, 2 buildings in the Galleria, the DA's office is. We're in buildings all over downtown, South Texas College of Law. I mean, we are everywhere. Port Nathan has, where each prosecutor had their own office, now he has all of them. Each court, like you said, had 3 prosecutors and an assistant, admin assistant, and then all these other staff. 90 of them are sharing a conference room. 90 people. It took me probably a month to get that wired just to have 90 people there because it was a Harris County conference room that was run by Wi-Fi. So we had to actually get lines pulled. It was like zigzag, like race, like railroad tracks that they had to cover up with tape and put these files in. The things that we've had to go through as an office has been challenging, to say the least. I mean, extremely challenging. So,
and that's where those programs that we're talking about today are being operated out of. And if, like, to give the audience an idea, picture like a stock trading floor, like the stock market with the phone ringing and everybody's screaming.
Everybody's going in 100 different ways. The papers are going everywhere.
That's how it is every day, all day.
Yeah. Because now Nathan is up here in this one huge conference room with 90 people and about at least 20,000 case files.
Oh, yeah.
At least 20,000 case files. So just imagine how crazy it is. It's the most crazy thing. Somehow he has organized it to where it looks like it's supposed to be that way, but I know how that room looked before then, before and after. I should have taken a picture of it so you can see what he's turned this into. It is an amazing job, and I need to compliment you every day for just trying to keep that ship afloat.
I can't take all the credit because the person who made it happen was Will Mejia.
Right.
Darla Gilly, my chief admin, and all the rest of the hard work. The investigators that also lugged all that stuff up there.
It was crazy. File cabinets, files. I mean, it's crazy.
Everybody did a lot of work, but I will say the chief architect is Will Mejia.
Yeah.
And Darla, and you, of course, because you made the plan.
I'm the original architect.
We made the plan happen.
Right. I envisioned it. I made it happen. I made it happen structurally, but then just said, here, do what's on this piece of paper, but y'all brought it to life.
Yeah.
Yeah, you brought it to life, and you did an excellent job. Everybody did. The community, we have really worked hard for you in the community because this has been very challenging. We have prosecutors out by the Galleria that have to come downtown to the courts, makeshift courts, twice a day. So they have to drive back and forth between the Galleria. Remember, we were all in one building. And so now they're running back and forth. But the biggest thing was just trying to move all of that out. I mean, he had 20,000 cases. Felony might have had 100,000 cases. We filed at least 120,000 cases a year. I mean, we counted, 110, 120, not even counting juvenile. So, I mean, it was just amazing what we've had to go through. And remember, we had 38 courts in that building. Those courts are now sharing with the civil courts and with the evacuated or condemned or vacant family courthouse. So, I mean, the judges are sharing double. One judge is going to 2 courts. It's an amazing maze that we're having to deal with right now. But we're still keeping you safe. We're still working 10, 12 hours a day. I mean, we're doing all of us are public servants. We took this job knowing that we were supposed to work for the public, so we're not complaining, but we are sharing with you. I felt sorry for the people charged with crimes because when I was working on finding places for everybody, people were running around crying down at 1201 saying, where do I go? I got to go to court. My bond's going to be revoked. It was a very harrowing experience because nobody knew what to do and we didn't even know what to tell them. So if you are unsure about your court, if you just got charged, if you've been charged, please go to Harris County website and find the courts and so you can figure out where your court is because it's not in the traditional place. And you know what's interesting is, as I tell people this in the community as recently as last night, people don't really realize it. It's interesting how the news and the newspaper are focusing on certain things, but they're not really talking a lot. I mean, to put something in the paper once or twice or 5 times is really not enough to talk about the conditions that we're working in.
Sure.
We're in buildings that have been abandoned, that had bad weather, bad ventilation, things have been taken out of it that we're trying to live through. So it's an amazing. It's an amazing.
And they're saying we're going to be there until 2020.
Oh my God.
Oh,
and
wow.
just as from a system whole standpoint, it's not just us. The defense attorneys,
Oh yeah.
the defendants charged, the victims, in some cases trials have been delayed because of Harvey in particular. We had no courtrooms to try cases. We had to build them.
We didn't have a place for the jury to come to do jury duty.
There was no jury assembly room.
There was nowhere for the jurors to assemble.
And we're almost back to full speed, particularly in misdemeanor. We've tried many cases since the storm, and we're back rolling. But
aren't y'all trying them once every 4 weeks? Each court does every 4 weeks. Are you on that schedule?
Each group of 4 courts, 1 through 4 does it differently, 5 through 8 does it differently, 9 through 12 does it differently, and 13 through 16 do it differently. So it depends on which segment you're talking about. And they're in different buildings. One is in the county attorney's building. There's a makeshift courtroom on the top floor.
Wow.
Some of them are in the family center. And then now the federal courts have opened up for some of the felony trials to be held. And we haven't even talked about the jail. I mean, the jail we have.
Talk about the jail. Let's talk about the jail.
Well, in our old building, we had holdovers connected to each courtroom. So if somebody happened to be in custody, they were there and you could bring them out. We don't have those facilities now because we're in a makeshift family building that's not housed to have inmates in the courtrooms. So we have court every day. Monday through Friday in the Harris County Jail. And on Monday of this week, we had 395 cases. So
tell us how that works with the judges. You have 16 judges you're dealing with, and you have a jail docket, like you talked about Monday. So describe how the judges are conducting 16 different jail dockets.
Well, they rotate them, obviously, but there's supposed to be one judge, if he or she has inmates in their court alone, they're supposed to be coming on that day. So let's just say on Monday, it was court 16, and I'm making this up. If Judge Jordan's inmates, there's a lot of them, all of them are going to come. But then everybody else from courts 1 through 16 who happened to be picked up over the weekend that did not make bond for whatever reason, they will be there too. So you have court 16s and all of the other 15 courts that are there. And on Monday, that was 395 people.
Even though they're basically letting people out with this new bail reform and the federal misdemeanor lawsuit, Why would you have 398 people still in jail?
People have a variety of things going on. If they had a felony in the same transaction of a misdemeanor, they're probably not going to get out. If they have an immigration hold put on them or some other detainer, some other federal agency hold, they're not going to get out. Certain domestic violence cases, the federal bond case has a different way that those folks are dealt with, and particularly domestic violence we take very seriously, obviously, here from the district attorney's side as well as from the judicial side, which includes harassment, assault, terroristic threat, all kinds of violation of protective orders. We're really sensitive to that. So I would say that's the majority of those cases where people haven't made bond.
Wow. So how are the judges rotating? So are all 16 judges there at this jail docket on Monday?
Just one, sometimes two, depending upon how big it is.
Are they handling all the other judges' cases
That's
or just
correct.
theirs?
That's correct.
Wow. How do you split your prosecutors up like that then?
We have a rotation basis, so if Court 16 was supposed to be, the judge was supposed to be on the jail docket on Monday, I send my Court 16 prosecutors. So we've got some agreement with the judges that if you are the jail docket judge, you will not have a regular docket, because of course, every day there are regular dockets going on at either 8:30 or 11 also. So to look at it just realistically, I have 17 dockets each day that I'm responsible for in the county courts of fielding prosecutors to be there.
Let's also talk about the justice courts, the justice of the peace courts. We have 7 of them, around 7 precincts. It's
Eight.
more court.
8.
Oh, it's 8. Okay, we have 8 precincts. Okay, I don't know why I'm stopping with mine at 7. We have 8 precincts, and then most of them have a position 1 and 2.
They all do.
They all do. Okay, so you have 16 courts.
That's correct.
So you have 16 regular courts, and then you have 16 justice of the peace courts.
Yes.
And some of them were flooded.
2 of them in particular, I think, are still out of their original. I think it's Precinct 5 and Precinct 4, Judge Goodwin, and I can't remember which one in Precinct 5, but I think they're sharing an alternate location right now. But they're supposed to be back, I heard, in the next couple months.
So Nathan's division also has to house and, has to have lawyers, prosecutors that go out to prosecute Class C misdemeanors that happen at the County Justice of the Peace. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, there, on average, are over 500,000 Harris County justice tickets written each year. So
Wow.
I have 11 people. Well, I'm slated to have 11 people
Don't look at me like that.
handle these cases, these 500,000 cases a year. My JP section chief, Johanna Kraft, who I've known for 17 years because we started together within 2 weeks of each other, is incredible. She has such a rapport with the justices. There are 16 different elected officials all around the county from different precincts that are very different politically, as well as the demographics of each place. Johanna has run that division for probably over 10 years, maybe even longer. The folks that are out there are generally my less experienced people. They do a rotation between 2 to 6 months, depending upon what the turnover in the office is. In other words, they're out on the front line in some of these courts that have 500 cases on any given docket or more, talking with 500 citizens charged with Class C offenses. I think it's great for the young prosecutors to talk to people. These are our voters. These are our jurors. These are our workers and people in the community.
And they can also get practice trying cases. Even though they're ticket cases,
do.
they can try cases.
The reality is that later in a felony court or misdemeanor court, 80% of the cases are traffic related anyway. Someone gets pulled over on traffic, or a murder weapon is found in a trunk after a traffic violation. So it all has applications later. But I think primarily talking to our public, I try to make very clear to my misdemeanor prosecutors is that these are the people that will be sitting in a jury selection process when you're trying a murder case 5 years from now.
Right.
They're going to remember you, how you treat them with respect, how you treat the court, how you treat the defense attorneys, and your demeanor. They will remember you. You will not remember them, but they will remember you.
They will absolutely remember you. I know both of us have had that experience where someone comes up to you in the grocery store and say, "Hey, I was on one of your juries one time."
And you don't even remember.
You don't even remember them. Although they were real important that week. You might not remember them after that because you see so many of them.
That's true.
You see so many of them. So it is important that you treat people with respect, and I'm glad that you're molding our young prosecutors to do that.
I would say that that's a very big tenet that Kim has, that we treat the defense bar, the courts, the defendants, the victims, the witnesses, the police officers with respect.
Well, let me compliment you, because a lot of the old school defense attorneys are calling me saying, man, those young prosecutors are really respectful. They listen to us. You know, under the circumstances, some of the training is a little lax, you know, but just because they're so divided and we're not there to help them. We're in 11 different buildings. So I admire the ones who are sticking through it. You know, they will really get a benefit. But it's difficult when you don't have your most seasoned lawyers right there at your fingertips like they did before. But I do hear all the time how respectful they are and the fact that they listen. So you're doing a good job with that.
Well, you know and I know that most of the best defense lawyers in and around Harris County and the surrounding area, most of them used to be Harris County prosecutors.
Right.
So I try to definitely educate the less experienced prosecutors that this woman or this man or whoever they are used to be an incredible powerhouse in this office, and let me tell you what they used to do.
Right.
And they deserve that respect.
They do.
Because they were a public servant for a long time. I can tick off names all day long about the defense attorneys that are well respected. To be honest with you, the relationship that we have with DAs and defense attorneys is different than any other lawyer relationship, because I've practiced many areas of law.
Right.
It's respect from both sides.
That's
and
right.
It's one thing I appreciate about this part of our profession.
I do too. Now, Shekira, I know that you do set up Kim's media outreach or community outreach, I'm sorry, that has some media relationships to it.
Yes.
Do you ever hear complaints about us, and how do you deal with, or compliments, how do you deal with trying to help Kim help us with our outreach?
I think that most of the feedback that I've received is that we are a much more responsive agency, and I don't take that lightly, and I don't take my capacity lightly either. And the thoughtfulness of District Attorney Ogg to understand that the community is at the core of everything that we do. I mean, and to make an intentional decision to create a community outreach division to address such, not just a community outreach division, but a constituent services division for individuals who have questions, comments, or concerns about a case or how they were treated in process, and to know that you have that outlet and that responsiveness from the District Attorney's Office. I think it's something different, but completely advantageous for the community, and a great way for us to funnel how well we're doing or the lack thereof, and where areas where we could improve upon. And so we're always trying to gauge the community's pulse.
Right. And I also co-sign with Shekira. We're not perfect, but we're trying every day, and we really work hard to try to make sure we're responsive to the community. We're keeping you safe. And we're not locking up people that shouldn't be locked up. We listen to everything. Kim even created a professional integrity unit that I thought was just going to be there for the prosecutors to ask their questions. But if a defense attorney or a citizen makes a complaint or thinks we do something wrong, he's a former judge. He investigates that. And it's been enlightening. I know it's driving him crazy because he's being run. He thought he was retiring, and now he's being run ragged. But he does. Judge Mendoza takes that very seriously, and he checks out everything. So, are there any diversion programs that you see in the future?
Well, we have several that are being expanded right now. One of them is Veterans Court program. We are the largest city in Texas, and accordingly, we have the largest veteran population. Currently, the Veterans Court program is broken between misdemeanors and felonies. We've increased the participation from 30 participants to 40 just recently, with the probation department giving us an extra person.
Now, is that for misdemeanor or for both?
Just for misdemeanor. And
are we working that with just our volunteer prosecutors, or are they assigned to that full time?
They are all volunteers. I have incredible participation in this. We have.
Let me tell you what I'm excited about. Let me interrupt you for a moment. The veterans, the people who are actually veterans who are DAs, they're the ones that care about veterans and volunteer to help with that generally. So talk about that.
I have in my division right now, I think 3 Army Rangers.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I have a Marine. She's a tough Marine. She's the one living in her driveway. She's all tough.
Wow.
I have former Special Forces Army. We have disabled veterans. We have 2, a Marine and an Army disabled veteran, both in my division right now. The amount of time that these prosecutors are willing to donate for the veterans, we have the manpower and the woman power to do it.
Wow.
You know, we honestly need more funding to get more people in the program, because it's not a problem from the prosecutors to volunteer the hours.
Right.
I could probably have 150 people in the program with my prosecutors handling it.
So what Nathan needs, though, what he's talking about is there has to be a screener or an independent person that says, like a liaison between the judge and us, the prosecutors, to screen who is eligible for these programs.
And there's statutory requirements, too. There has to be some sort of nexus between the criminal charge as well as if they have PTSD or some other disability or some sort of other veteran-related issue, that there's a nexus. And I have to talk about Judge Fields. Judge Mike Fields has been running this program since its inception, and he's fantastic. Probation department, Sarah, and her last name is escaping me right now. She's amazing. The amount of time that is put in to help these veterans.
And let me add what Nathan is saying. Judge Fields is the misdemeanor judge, and he's a veteran.
He is.
And Mark Carter is the felony judge, and he's a veteran, and he runs that. In fact, he got the Rehnquist Award, a national award for his volunteerism in running these. So we have two judges, a felony and misdemeanor, and they're both former veterans.
We're in the process of writing a grant for extra money right now that I have to finish in the next couple weeks, actually.
It's grant writing season?
It is. But there are some specific goals that I think we have in mind for the Veterans Court program. I don't want to share the specifics because...
Could you make sure that you write in there, I review all the grants, but I don't write them. So can you make sure that there's some coordinator payment for a coordinator?
Oh, absolutely. I would like
we don't have any more positions for you to give you.
I would
You're
like
stolen enough.
I would like a dedicated prosecutor to handle both felonies and misdemeanors. That would be an ultimate goal because we have that many veterans in our community.
And even if not, at least like the Dahlias of the world, the paralegals to run it, to help.
We have incredible staff talent at the district attorney's office. They're fantastic, super capable. I'm sure I could find another Dahlia or Jordan Galloway. I'm sure I could find another one.
They're out here. So let's get back on marijuana. So 3,895 people. Let's look at that from the community standpoint. You have 3,895 police officers that did not take you to jail, that called the DA's office, felt safe enough on the street with you in their car to say, hey, I've given this person an opportunity to be diverted. I think police officers need to be commended for that too. A lot of times we don't commend the officers enough. They cooperated, they wanted to do it. They say, yeah, if y'all want to do this, we'll work with you. Because that's stressful for the officers. They have you in the back of the patrol car, they're in vulnerable positions, they're trying to get your correct email address and phone number, and they're not taking you to jail, which they've been trained to do. And so I have to commend them for their cooperation. I want to ask the community one more time, if you have not complied, you will be getting a warrant in March. And so you might be driving next time and think you just have a joint in the car. You'll be going to jail to deal with that case that you didn't go take that 4-hour class. And let me just add, I hate saying this, but on the 4-hour class, if you don't have the money, you can still go. I mean, it's an indigency program too. So if you don't have the money, don't let that stop you from taking the class. You should be able to find $150 because the people, let me just tell this about probation. Let me sing their praises a little bit. The probation department has people who work 8 to 5 or varying hours. These are probation officers who are working overtime to teach these classes to you. So the money that you pay is going to pay them. The $150 pays their salary because this is not a part of their regular job. They agreed to work with us to give this 4-hour class to you, but this is not a part. They still have a 40-hour work week to work. And this is something they're doing at night from 6 to 10 and on Saturdays, and they're getting paid basically probation minimum wage because your $150 has to go a long way to keep the lights on at these extra times to help you in the community. I just want to give them that shout out in the probation department for allowing us to do that and creating this program and training their probation officers to work this overtime. But the money is not going into anybody's pocket. It's actually paying the people who teach this 4-hour behavior class.
And maybe we should just restate it again.
Sure.
Before March 1st, Mondays and Wednesdays from 6 to 10 p.m. at 49 San Jacinto, and Saturday at the same place, 49 San Jacinto, from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. If you call my office, 713-274-0500, and ask for the Misdemeanor Marijuana Diversion Program coordinators, we will get you in touch with the right people to sign you up for one of those 3 courses that are each week.
But I really think that they can sign up online too. If they still have their paperwork, there was a link on your paperwork that the police officer gave you that told you how to sign up online for one of those classes. But you will not be turned away if you show up at 1:50 for one of these classes early enough to sign up, or you show up, and you got to show up early enough though before the class starts if you want to sign up for the indigency paperwork that they have. So don't let that stop you. We want you to succeed, but we are not soft on crime. We're trying to help. This is what we heard that we could do to save money for the county and to help you. We will arrest you, and so we're trying to do everything we can. We planned to arrest people last year, but because of the hurricane, we delayed it and decided we'd wait until the 1-year anniversary. So please, please, please cooperate with us. I want to say one more thing about the driving while license suspended or invalid program. It hasn't started yet, but the main thrust of it will be that we will have access to DPS, the Texas Department of Public Safety, so that we can access their administrative rules. Although Nathan has described how your license is suspended, we don't have access to the particular reasons because administratively they can suspend it for things that have nothing to do with crime. It doesn't have to be that you had a marijuana or cocaine or serious drug case. It can be because you've gotten more than 2 failure to show insurance, financial responsibility. So you can lose your driver's license in a lot of ways that is specific, and we don't have access to DPS's database for why an individual, like if Shekira is found with driving while her license suspended, we don't know why at the DA's office. We can't tell you why. So the judges, the misdemeanor judges, and Nathan and other people involved with misdemeanors have worked hard to try to get DPS to either physically be there certain days of the week or that we can have a special number that we don't have to stay on the line for three hours to try to find out why your license is suspended. It could be for, just so many reasons. And if you know it, and if you move within 30 days, you're supposed to change your address with DPS. I know most people don't do that, but DPS has let you know, but you might not be living at the place in which your driver's license or your identification card was documented with DPS. So what the main issue in this is to try to figure out what's wrong with your license so that you have a reset in court and have an opportunity to fix it. Do you want to add something to that?
No, I think you got it right. Some of the suspensions are a lot more complicated. We don't understand. It's basically a different language that DPS has for administrative suspensions and hard suspensions, soft suspensions, administrative fees. Frankly, it's just a different language. And so we need their expertise to be there to help streamline some of this process.
And I want to say that because DPS does not allow another individual to go into the database that contains your driver's license information. You could have been mentally ill at some point. There could be HIPAA violations. There could be medical reasons that have been turned over to DPS that we can't access. But we're trying to figure out a way to get you to access that or your defense attorney to access that so that we can get you driving. We think the community is safer if your license is valid and you have valid insurance than going to jail because you don't have it. Shekira, how do you think that you can help us in the community get that message across, since you're the outreach guru?
Right. I think, as I mentioned earlier, talking to many of the grassroots organizations, I'm talking to other service providers and law enforcement agencies and more strategic partnerships to amplify our reach and our efforts to ensure that the community understands the mechanics of the program. And I think that that's where we're most suited. When they understand the spirit of the policy, they're more receptive to participate, because a lot of times it hasn't been, the easiest relationship because it's penalty-based, right? So it's not sexy, it's not attractive, but you want to make it digestible and easy for people to participate.
I agree. So we have about 4 minutes left, so we need to say some closing remarks. And I think we have beat this horse to death, but he's still standing. So we still have more things we can say. So what closing remarks, and I want you to be thinking, Ms. Outreach, what closing remarks can we say to encourage people to help, or to scare them into helping, or to do what they need to do to protect themselves and their criminal records that once it's out there on Google, never goes away?
I would just say this is an incredible opportunity for you not to have a negative repercussion on your record. And you have a couple weeks to take advantage of that opportunity. And we're talking about 4 hours of your time. You may even learn something from the cognitive decision-making course that can help you. I think that you will. I don't think anybody can take the course and not learn something from it. Again, these are probation officers that are donating their time essentially to be there from 6 to 10 p.m. during the week and 8 to 1 on a Saturday. This could help you theoretically have employability for the rest of your life or not. Could allow you to rent apartments without too much pain or discomfort for the rest of your life. Please get it done. I really don't think the Harris County District Attorney's Office takes any pleasure in issuing the warrants that we're going to have to issue after March. I know there will be some, but I hope there are hardly any.
We're gearing up to do the warrants on February 23rd. We're going to start preparing them. We have our staff together to prepare them, and it's just it's sad that we can't get our non-compliant people into compliance. We will be running PSAs through March on every medium. Our community outreach person, Shekira Dennis, is going to make sure that it's everywhere. This is part of the PSA tonight. Kim Ogg will be making PSAs that will be running all over. Shekira, we have 1 minute, so what closing remarks can you make?
I just want everyone to know that this policy is for the greater good of the community, and if you have a family member or a colleague or someone else in your peer group that has not taken advantage of it, encourage them to do so. Follow us on all of our social media platforms.
Which are?
At HCDAO on Instagram. We're on Twitter at HCDAO as well, or you can follow us on Facebook at the Harris County District Attorney's Office or Kim K. Ogg. And so we'll be pushing out information regarding the marijuana program and other programs that the public can take advantage of.
Well, we're very glad that you took the time to watch. I hope you've learned something. I hope you share this with your community people, partners. I know the ministers around are very happy about it. I know they're always sharing it with their congregation, with us. They call us. We're out there touching the community. We're not just staying in our offices, although we are there for 10 hours a day. And then in the afternoons, we go out to different places like now. I mean, it's the afternoon. We're off work. But we do care. We are public servants at heart. And so we are here to tell you that the marijuana program is good. Let's all make it work together as community partners. And let's work to make Harris County a safer and better place to live. Thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. Thank you, Nathan, for coming, giving up your evening. Thank you, Shekira, for coming and giving up your evening. Although I know I had to threaten you. But anyway, even though I had to threaten you, Shekira. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Good night. Thank you for tuning in again. Tonight we have something really good, a hot topic in the news this week. He's been charged with crime. This is a show where